He did have him. He had him on absolute toast. There is no way Blinky should have lost that 1v1. I'm Spawn. That's Bryce. This is the OPL brought to you by Hungry Jacks. And what the heck?
That was just upsetting. That was an upsetting 1v1 to watch. Blinky, I don't know, he just threw it.
Can you throw a 1v1?
Sorry?
Can you throw a 1v1?
Yes, 100%. I did it 2014 All-Stars when I dove on Leona versus Caitlyn.
I'm
and then Blinky
actually
just did the same thing.
As we're about to get into the second game of the night, it's going to be Order taking on Sid Gaming as we bring the lineups onto your screen. I refuse to acknowledge 2014 All-Stars.
Okay, sorry, man.
This matchup is quite interesting because you've got the bottom lane from Sin now joining Order, and it's a little bit of, I would say that it's a grudge match
This
now.
is absolutely a grudge match. This is the betrayal of the bot lane for Sin Gaming here. FBI and Rogue obviously did so much work for Sin, and then Juve's rebuilding his roster once again for the third year in a row.
Yep.
And I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, see him social media, you know what kind of player he is. He's a very hard on his sleeve kind of guy. And then you have to think it has to hurt. Like, Sin have had a very hard string of games, I think, but they haven't found success this season yet too much. And then Order, on the other hand, have won all theirs. So you have to think FBI and Rogue found success on this new roster. And then Juves must be getting frustrated.
Yeah, certainly, because the thing about Sin is in the past they've had mid laners like Ryoma, they had Rymeister, so they always had, like, you know, a solid mid laner. And I think that this year, arguably the year where they have the weakest mid laner coming into it in Bedoink. So far, we haven't obviously seen the evolution of Bedoink. But what they found last year was a very solid bottom lane in FBI and Rogue, especially through the laning phase, and it gave them a little bit of oomph. Obviously, this year, in Dream and Kuden, certainly not the same caliber of lane or experience coming out of either of those players.
Yeah, and I mean, not to mention these two haven't even played on stage together yet, right? This is Kuden coming in week 3, straight off the bench for that competitive ruling, so we'll see how he fares today.
Yeah, certainly we'll have to see. I mean, I know that when you played against him, we're very intimidated by his Soraka. He played it against you, actually, after you had memed him about it.
Yeah.
And I believe picked up a victory.
Did he win?
Yeah.
I actually straight up don't remember. But yeah,
I just pushed it out of the memory.
I mean, he's not this kind of player anymore, but I used to hate Kuden because I'm just like a full-on, like, I just want to fight you at level 2, and then at level 3 and 4 and 5, and he's just like in between his like outer and inner turret on Soraka, just zooming in with a heal and then coming back to lane. But I don't know, he was just frustrating to play against. And I guess that was where he found his berth into the OPL. I've been on a few teams now. Legacy was on Abyss Academy last season in the OCS.
was at one point as well.
Yep, and so he kind of was just a Soraka one-trick out of solo queue and then expanded his champion pool and bounced around from a few teams now. Been around for a while, but hasn't really found a permanent home.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't. We'll see whether he can get any success here on Sin Gaming. However, to get their thoughts on this matchup, let's throw it over to Laura and Choo Choos.
Thanks, guys. Choo Choos, we've got what the casters are calling the grudge match between Order and Sin. What are your thoughts on this, and who do you think is going to pick up the victory?
I think I'll go over to Order, clean 2-0, but I kind of feel that I would like to see Juves win against his old bot lane, and also I'm a fan of Kuden. Kuden was on my team back when I last played competitively, and he's a funny character, and as Bryce said, he is a Soraka one-trick, but he has brought in that champion pull out, so I'd like to see him play something different, but I definitely will be rooting for them today.
It'll definitely be entertaining if Sin pick up a win today, but I'm also going to give a 2-0 to Order. But remember, if any of you at home would like to make your own predictions, head on over to opltips.com.au. We've got RP prizes and XP boosts up for grabs, as well as $25, $50 and $100 Hungry Jacks vouchers. For more information on those prizes, make sure you head on over to the website at opltips.com.au. Thanks for your predictions once again, Choo Choos. But to get this series underway, let's hand it back to Jake and Bryce.
Thanks so much. So once again, we're going with an Order clean sweep here, 2-0. They did manage to get the last series correct. However, I think that there is something that we have to talk about because Order, sitting on top of the table, in my eyes, the boys from Melbourne have undisputably the easiest run at the start of the OPL out of any of the top teams. They went up against Tectonic. They're now going up against Sin Gaming. They had the Bombers without 2 of their star players. Probably can't get an easier run than that. At the same time, Sin probably had the hardest run out of everyone. So, I mean, even though on paper this looks like top of the table versus bottom of the table, I feel like it kind of doesn't do it justice.
Kind of doesn't do it justice in that we don't really know the strength of these teams. Once we've seen top team play top team and bottom team play bottom team, you kind of figure it out, I guess. But yeah, as you said, coming up, you've had all these mismatches in the leading up weeks to this game be interesting to see how they fare off.
Yeah, and the teams are coming in with completely different philosophies. I mean, Order are obviously coming in with let's build a team of superstars. And Sin obviously have always been a team that want to be a superstar team. They want to play their game plan. They want to play 1-4, or they want to play, the AMRAD style.
They want to play Yasuo.
Exactly right. So we'll see whether, the different philosophies do clash as we bring the rosters up on your screen. First off, it is going to be the boys from Melbourne Order. Tally in the top lane. Spooks is their jungler. Swiffer is their captain, mid laner, and probably a coach at the moment. FBI is their AD carry, and Rogue is their support. Of course, they'll be going up against Sin Gaming, who have Praetor up in the top lane. It's going to be Juves, their jungler and captain. Bedoink is their mid laner. Dream and Kuden is their bottom lane. And Vicarious, formerly of Order, then Regicide, is their coach. And I mean, Kuden is someone that we have talked about a little bit, but I think that, was known for mage supports. Now in solo queue, really does play everything. He is a little bit of a solo queue grinder.
He's one of those players that thinks about the meta and kind of gets those picks that are about to be strong very quickly, and he does pick up on those things early. When Taric wasn't really picked after the rework, Kuden was spamming Taric and was the best solo queue in OS. Maybe not now, but was at the time 100%. When I was playing solo queue every day, I'd match against him. I'm like, okay, this guy's genuinely good. But the weird thing for me about Kuden, this is a bit of a roast, but I feel like Kuden is a little bit of an off-season warrior. In that, in the middle of the season, his form seems to drop off a bit, but in the off-season, coming up, leading up to the start of the season, leading up to week 1, he's always at the top of Challenger, top 5, top 10. And in solo queue, he's absolutely popping off, doing things that you don't expect. And that's the big thing. Watching players and a good player that you can expect them to do well and they don't do things that surprise you. Kuden is a player that when he plays well, genuinely does things that are surprising, and that's a really big benefit.
Yeah, it certainly is. It gives him a little bit of that X factor. I agree. He's a player that, to me, has always been a little bit more reserved on stage than what I see him in solo queue. He plays real loose in solo queue. In fact, sometimes plays real weird stuff. But on stage is a little bit more orthodox. He was also one of the first people to bring out Trundle from memory as well. Something that Legacy's bottom lane has had great success with.
He also played Kale at one point, I think, when nobody else played Kale. I mean, they got hard stomped in that game, but he's not afraid to pick weird things.
Yeah, for sure. I think that the innovation is definitely there, and that's something Sin will use to their advantage. At the same time, we do have to talk about Order. I mean, they're a lineup that has Spook Swiffer combo. They've got Rogue FBI. They've brought in Legacy's longtime vice captain and top laner in Tally. But what have we seen from them so far this split? Has it been the mixed bag? Have they been impressive? Are they just getting the wins and that's enough?
I feel like they have had a few sketch games here and there, but for the most part, the bot lane has been the strong point that they have been playing through. Tally against the likes of Paprise, who you'd think should be a big mismatch, was fairly even and oftentimes behind in matchups that he shouldn't be. And I think so Paprise fared fairly well into him, so Tally not performing as we would expect, I guess, coming in as that superstar top laner from Legacy, but the bot lane has definitely been zooming.
Yeah, and something that we talked about a lot, and I think still needs to be talked about, is that Order did not boot camp. Tally had back surgery in the off-season, couldn't play any video games
until
during December.
3-4 weeks until the season.
Until January 4th, and Swiffer was out of the country, so they were just chilling in the off-season, and the other top teams were in Korea. Of course, Sin also did not boot camp, and they were pulling together a roster, so both teams in a very similar off-season predicament.
And I think for today, one thing we have to notice, behind-the-scenes knowledge, Rogue is apparently quite sick at the moment.
He is very ill.
He is very ill. And so if Order have been relying on him to be their main engage tool and get them those early game leads, if he's not up to 100% today, then potentially that is something that Sin could exploit. So we'll have to track that one
and already,
as the games go on.
We're seeing a Jarvan ban, something that Spooks has played a lot of. Melzahar, Varus, an 80 carry taken away. It's going to be Zoe, Braum, and Callista on the other end.
Cogmore available for the first time today.
Yeah, potentially we'll see it. Gangplank available, Azir available. Everything's actually available.
We have seen just the complete, as they do actually do it. They lock in the Gangplank. We've seen so many blind pick Gangplanks in the LCK, overseas, Oceania as well.
LPL is just banned every game.
Yeah, they're just like, no thanks. But I mean, tracking specifically in the OPL, every Gangplank we've seen, I think, hasn't gone punished enough. Right? We saw Chippies was winning matchups that he shouldn't be winning. Tally's played it a few times before, and he was just ulting the other lanes and staving off dives left, right, and center. You do mention the Azir, and they're hovering that one now.
Yeah, it has always been a Bedoink champion, which is so weird. I mean, he's a Yasuo player and an Azir player. Pretty opposite end of the spectrums there.
See if they do match that one with the Nunu. We did see the Nunu 2 games from a bit earlier, and this is kind of the optimal combo. If they could get their hands on, on Cogmore as well.
Yeah, and I mean, they take Tahm Kench, which is good against Order, I feel, especially if they're going to look to punish bottom lane quite heavily. Tahm Kench can dilute some of that pressure. especially from an Alistar.
And I want to see if he does go the Glacial Augment build or if he goes for traditional Spellbook or Guardian. Because we have seen the rank 1. I'm not sure if he's currently rank 1, but he was rank 1 yesterday in Korea.
Rogue must be very unwell.
Maybe. But I do want to mention real quick, the Glacial Augment Tahm Kench. Not many people, mainly Aurelion Sol is the only one that takes that rune. And that is, of course, the slowing on your auto attacks and abilities there. So Tahm Kench, big proponent of that, lets him gap close to be able to eat people. And the Kate Jana.
That's not an aggressive bottom lane.
No, it's not.
It's a pushing bottom lane.
Yeah. It's not a fighting bottom lane, which is kind of all we've seen
actually,
from
that's true.
It is an aggressive one.
It's aggressive and it pushes very quickly.
Yep. Potentially what order are going for here. They do have the Tahm Kench already, so he's not going to do...
Flash Tornado?
Flornado?
Flornado.
That was
is that
easy.
what it is?
Come on, man. Hit me with a hard one.
I feel like that's too many syllables to get out of a team fight.
Nah, it's just a tricky, like, first syllable, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, you say floor? That's a common English word. That's fine. They do lock into
As
Tristana.
opposed to any other language that I speak, which is
well,
nothing.
I mean, I don't know.
Tristana Tahm Kench will be the pickup in the bottom lane, so potentially didn't go for a Nunu. I feel like Order might not have hit Tristana in the bans. They probably would have looked for something like Kog'Maw.
Yeah.
If they wanted to take the Nunu for Juves, it should be probably banned away. Azir
I think so.
Tristana is really scary with a Nunu.
Yeah, 100%. But it would mean that they'd have basically no engaged tools. All that they could get on the side of Sin would be a top laner. So maybe something like a Camille flank or possibly a Gnar, but they're not really reliable as the setup. But Tahm Kench, Tristana.
Sejuani taken away.
Just getting rid of the S-tier junglers right now. Jarvan and Sejuani both hitting the bench. Sam looks pretty happy on the lineup of Order there. But
of course,
yep,
jungler.
But Tahm Kench and Tristana, I was noting that. That does not lane well into Kate Jana. You do nothing. You get outranged by the Kaylin in terms of the Tristana. You get outranged on the Tahm Kench in terms of the Jana.
You have a similar dip in items, so you don't come online any earlier than her.
And
both of you kind of want 3.
They're both ranged, so they're going to get more priority in the lane. They're going to push you in. They have quicker wave push. Tahm Kench is not going to do a whole lot more than throwing out a Q here and there.
And there goes the Nunu from Order. And I feel like Order were seeing if they could force a Nunu ban. Because now I've looked at the comps again. Nunu is actually quite intimidating on the Order lineup as
100%.
well, because if they get that and they try lane bot, which we've seen historically be very strong.
It's just the value, right? You get the BF sword from the Jana and then you get the Zeal from the Nunu. Give it to the Caitlyn. There you go. But they do lock into Zac. So with that Nunu banned away, that is an engaged tool. We did see Galio banned away. Swiffer had a pretty good performance on that one last weekend. They're hovering the alley. That's Jana mid. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
it's actually going to be potentially a Vladimir mid lane, which we haven't seen, I think, at all in the OPL yet.
We've seen it mostly top. And now we're on 8.2, obviously, just reminding people at home. So there won't be any spell thieves on the Vladimir.
And not great engage out of Order either.
Yep.
At the same time, I mean, they've got right now Gangplank ultimate as well as
pseudo engage. Like they have a slow. They don't have any CC.
A Flornado.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only person that's tried a Flornado in the OPL right now is Tilting, and that one didn't work out.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going Karzik, so there's no engage.
There's absolutely none. Coming out of the lineup of Order, a very greedy composition. Last weekend, Tectonic versus Order. Tectonic's strategy was to go super greedy because they didn't think Order would punish.
I mean, is it greedy? I feel like bottom lane definitely is pushing. They've got an aggressive jungler, which should be able to keep tabs on Zac early, should be able to definitely out-duel him. And, I mean, yeah, actually, middle lane and top lane will be pushing for Sin, so arguably you can say greedy.
I think it's 100% greedy. You get to 30 minutes and you have to team fight front to back against a double tank composition. Tahm Kench, Zac, you can even throw in the Gnar as well. Like, that is very difficult. The reason you see tanks is because once you get to that stage of the game, you have someone to be able to tank up a dragon, the Elder Dragon, the Baron.
On the flip side, I'm going to say if you get to 30 minutes versus Tristana, Zac, Azir, and you have any composition, you're arguably not winning the team fight. So I think that as far as 1-3-1 goes and forcing Azir into a side lane, they've merely got the best comp to be able to do that.
But I just think objective control is so important here, and Order have been the team so far in the OPL that they've been trying to play very fast League of Legends. And if you're 20 minutes with, let's say, a 10k goal, the optimal situation for Order right now, right? They're like, hey, we've stomped the laning phase, got ourselves a bunch of dragons, we have a gold lead. How do they close out this game? Like, it has to be Siege and 1-3-1. Sorry, my voice just completely
Vladimir kills Azir in a side lane, and they have a 4v5 on the map, is how they close the game out.
Yep, 100%. That's a very specific scenario. If they ever try and force around the Baron, they're going to take a whole lot of damage. Jana will shield the Kha'Zix, but he's not going to be tanky at all, so they're going to have a rough time doing that. I guess Vlad in the hands of Swiffer can feel... They have like pseudo-tankiness with this Janna shield, but they just don't have a beefy front line. That's something we're not used to seeing in this meta.
Certainly isn't. I mean, it's something that SKT ran famously last year for vast majority of the year in a tank meta. In a scaling meta, they were just able to build these gold leads, stick to the macro play, force people around and catch them out. But I guess your argument is they don't really have the catch in this game to be able to do that.
My argument is also that that's SKT. Yep. They are, well, maybe not right now.
Because they did it in the OPL last year.
They look not good at all right now in the LCK, but SKT at the time, just best team in the world. They like just unashamedly the best team in the world.
Direwolves did it last year at the OPL. However, let's throw it over to Vicarious, who's alongside Laura.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm standing here with Vicarious. The casters have been saying that Sin have had some really tough matchups the first few weeks of this split. How's the team's mentality heading into this series?
All right, so as soon as the draw sort of came out, we all know that, okay, the first few weeks are going to be tough, and then there's a competitive ruling on Kuden. But today we got a full roster back. We're actually very pumped, and we think we're going to do well.
You've seen ORD play a few games now in these first 2 weeks. What are some things and trends that you've picked up from those games?
Well, ORD plays very calm and collected, so they're a very experienced comp. But the thing is, you play calm and collected, but they don't have a coach that defines their gameplay. So I think we can take advantage of this, and we can maybe outplay them.
Well, as a coach, what do you want to see coming out of the team this series?
Beating ORD.
Sounds good to me. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck with the series.
Thank you.
All right, goal is to beat ORD.
It's that easy.
It is a very simple goal.
Let's see if they can do it. Let's see. Full strength Sin. Kuden in the bot lane. Let's go.
And I mean, Vicarious is another one of these coaches that I feel doesn't really want to do a coach's interview, so he just
he gives away nothing.
Dodges
what are you going to do
every
today?
question.
Win.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
As we see, push in bottom lane achieved one more time. We have a pushing bottom lane that has started in lane.
Yeah, so they didn't leash, and on the side of Sin they did leash, which is something fairly normal when you're like, hey, we're not going to get priority anyway, Jubes, we can give you a two-person leash versus the one. Rogue just tanks a turret shot, but...
Does the agent?
Is that the agent? I don't like you very much, Jake. Stop speaking. Jubes did start on the bot side of the map, which means level 3, level 4, when I think this lane, for the most part, is the most susceptible to getting ganked in terms of the K-Janna. When they will be under the turret, they won't have too many levels. Jubes is going to be on the top side of the map. So this bot lane from Sin is just going to be taking the harass they're doing right now. Already just a bit under a quarter of that turret gone from a single wave level 2.
And Rogue is just being as annoying as possible.
Yep.
I mean, they are doing what you probably shouldn't be able to do, and just sit at turret and spell fling. Not holding Tornado to disengage, not doing anything because of the information you were talking about.
I mean, you mentioned Tornado. He doesn't even have a point in shield right now. They know they're not going to take any damage from the Tarm Tristana lane. They're going to take absolutely nothing. They can't get onto him. Trist is much more interested in farming the minions. So they don't have a single point in Janna shield, and FBI is full HP. This is already a third gone.
And time and time again, they just sit here and they're able to continually push in. We'll see whether it does go punish.
Spooks on the bot side of the map. No camps around, getting himself and his bot lane that vision with the Scuttle Crab there. So Juve's going to have a very difficult time getting down there. But right now, we're only 3 minutes into the game, mind you. But I mean, in saying that, we're 3 minutes into the game and that turret's almost half HP.
Yeah, exactly right. And we can see both junglers similar kind of idea. They protect the top side of the map, which is a pushing lane for Sin.
Oh.
They protect the bottom side of the map, which is a pushing lane right now for ORD. But I feel like the Kate Janna is just pushing a little bit better than what...
A little bit?
Well, I'm trying to be... All right.
This is level 3. Level 3 Kate Janna has the turret on half HP right now. That's insane. This is the first fast push strategy we've seen in a very long time in the OPL, to be honest. Not even just this year, but the latter part of 2017 wasn't something we saw at all.
I mean, that's the first neutral wave that's gone across.
Yep.
28 to 22 CS. You can see Biscuit's actually run by Kuden in this lane.
Yep.
Minion Dematerializer is not picked up anywhere, it looks like.
Or are a fan of the stopwatches, though. Got five of those in his back pocket. Tally has that ward, so Juves is spotted out. Not going to be a successful gank from him.
Tally misses those creeps, but the lane's still pushing into him, so he doesn't really even have to approach right now. Can just get a recall if he wants. Come back to lane. With that teleport, you can see single spell book plus Airy on the bottom lane. So potentially Kate can look to recall at, 1,300 gold, something like that.
And I mean, this is something you mentioned at the top of the show, right? The spell book coming out of Caitlyn means he can base on the BF or on the pickup. That's a tornado with the trap.
That's actually a very nice combo. That's a lot of damage going down. You can see Bedoink in the mid lane has to run away.
But whenever FBI feels like he has enough gold to base, this turret's already incredibly low.
This turret's going down.
That's gone. But he can just recall via BF, TP back to lane, and because it isn't matched on the other side, because Dream doesn't have access to that as well, he's just going to be stuck there with an item disadvantage, no ability to get a recall off unless Juves can help them push out the wave. But Spooks is here, and Juves doesn't win the 1v1.
Yeah, exactly right. And this is why it was important that Spooks did grab an aggro jungle. They deliberately target out the other tanks and then gave him the slowest clearing tank.
It's gone.
Which I feel has to be deliberate from the order lineup right now. As you can see, just continually pushing in. Kuden actually falling very low, gets the heal out. But this is a situation that is going from bad to worse.
He's just trying to trade his health for a little bit of lane priority. He's trading his health for that turret's health right now. He'd rather FBI hits him instead of hitting the tower because they don't want that going down. We're looking at almost a 6-minute first brick coming out of order if they can execute this.
Yeah, exactly right. And already you're looking at a big creep score advantage as well. You can see already 12 up in the mid lane, 8 up in the top lane, completely even. And you know that Gangplank's probably been shooting Gnar more than he's been shooting creeps. And they will just take that time to get themselves a recall, see whether they use the tempo they have from a pushing lane to walk back or whether they do TP back. Because I feel like the right call here is walk, collect a big wave, shove into the turret, immediately teleport top, but they don't go for it. They just, I mean, this is now a 1v2 lane that he's just TP'd into.
Doesn't care though, has about a 300 gold lead onto the Tristana here, about a kill. But as you said, this is exactly what just happened. He TP'd, he basically wasted it right now. He'll be walking next to Rogue, and he will just catch this wave.
He will grab
he stops
a full wave early though. So Dream will come back to a no turret, or will have to rotate top straight away. So I don't think it's the optimal TP play, but it is a 30-second quicker recall. And you can see Tristana just says, you know what? Actually, happy feeding. Went towards top lane, and then was like...
Kuden in lane already. Dream, his hands are kind of tied. He has to come down here. They are giving the solo gold to FBI, so he's going to have a huge lead. Already got the BF, but that will just be getting bigger and bigger. Already 1,000 gold lead.
Yeah, you can see with the pushing mid lane. I mean, I didn't think that Vladimir versus Azir would go this way. Azir's just been shoved in. And an Infernal Drake. The Oceanic Drake.
First game is always Infernal. Come on. Every time.
Continue to go back bottom lane. So fast push, successful to get themselves a 2,000 gold lead. Feel like it may still not be enough, given the fact that they're running a tankless comp. Infernal Drake certainly helps out in that regard.
But now is the hard part, right? In theory, that was the easy part. They have a Tarm Tristana, we have a Kate Janna. We're just going to push down the turret and it's going to die. Hold that thought.
Yeah, Spooks goes in, actually jumps onto Kuden. However, big damage going across the other way. Doesn't get eaten up and forces the flash out of Dream. Damage coming across.
Okay, they do force the flash, but that's what I was saying. That's the easy part. They got the turret. They drafted very specifically for this, and they've taken down that turret. But now is the big thing. What can they do with this advantage? That 1k gold lead onto FBI. They need to be able to push this in, potentially rotate to the other side of the map and start getting the outer up there against Praedyth. Or if they don't choose to do that, Spooks needs to be able to get them enough vision in the bot quadrant, red side jungle, for Sin there, around the blue buff.
Yeah, and potentially that's going to be a dive onto Tally. You can see 3 members heading up there. No response out of the entire Order team. In goes Juves, able to get the knock up, gets him, slaps him together. Will fall down into Bloblish potentially, but Bedoink is here as well. Has to flash as well. Tally outplaying everyone, still dancing around, goes in, gets another summoner spell out, and will eventually fall down. But you can see the duo lane already heading up, and because they cannot push it, Swiffer actually is going to get a return kill potentially here. No, E.
I mean, he's just waiting, so when Juice comes out of the Caitlyn ulti, there we go. Oh, Rogue just wants a kill there.
Yeah.
Tally potentially
just saved probably the early game.
I mean, that was a fantastic play, but if he didn't actually go for that kill onto Bedoink, I think they couldn't have continued the dive. His team was coming. He would still be alive, would have the flash available again.
I think
I'm just nitpicking, but
I think at the same time, what he was trying to do is stop them taking the turret. So his priority was actually on getting as many people low and burning the creep wave. So in the fast push, Order right now have got themselves a 1-for-1 kill trade and will also be able to take a top lane turret before anyone can get back up there. At least in theory, you can see already that Praedyth has made his way top lane.
Do they get it though? There's so many wards in the top side jungle for Order here. So Spooks is spotted out. He's on the Gromp right now. They do know whereabouts he is, so they don't get this turret just yet. Just hit the Scrying Orb as well, so reveals himself. Zach.
Tahm Kench ulti is available to be able to take them top lane if he wants to.
Yep. There could potentially be 5 members of Sin on the bot side here, so a 1-for-0 trade in terms of turrets for Order, and that's what I'm saying. They got that bot lane turret, right? They had that 1,000 gold lead onto the Caitlyn, 20 CS lead already. They rotate top, get a couple of kills, which is really nice, but they need to keep transitioning this lead into more of a lead because, as we said, they don't have the front line to match late game.
Yeah, and I feel like at this stage of the game, if you're Tristana Tahm Kench, you almost throw the gauntlet and just say, we're going to try and push as fast as you.
Yep.
I mean, going back to their lane, we've already seen it doesn't work.
Yep.
So Order now, they can just pick up the top side objective. They're going for Rift Herald against Azir. We've already said this once today. It's just a value objective. They're going to bring 4 members over here. No contest should come out from Sin. And I feel like Sin are kind of falling into their hands. I feel like if they just race, get equal gold, which they're not going to get at the moment, they out-team fight them. So just trade. Say, okay, at 40,000 gold, we're better. Let's get there as quick as possible. Throw down.
Yep, but they're not opting into that one just yet right now. Rogue and FBI looking for a bit of a trade. Lordo is really hurt. Kuden picks up his AD carry there and tanks the Q.
A little bit more than a bit of a trade. See whether they can continue to push in, however, because one thing that you have to note is that Tristana's wave clear at level 9 gets very good. Couple of shots onto a satchel charge, blows up that back minion line, able to continue to farm out nicely.
This is the test. The Spooks Rift Herald test. This game right here. Fast push strategy. They need to be taking turrets. He's got himself a
If
Rift
he
Herald.
doesn't crack mid lane with this, I think they nearly lose again.
Yep, I think, I don't know, potentially it comes down to execution later if they straight up lose the game, but they're definitely in a real tricky situation. Juice is posturing around the top side of the map. Not sure if he's on a ward
Spooks is actually
right now,
making his way bottom lane. Gets called out of the gank, however. Doesn't want to show. Potentially going to look to steal away a blue buff for himself.
But FBI and Rogue just can't do anything at this point. They're not getting damage down on the turret. As you said, with levels, Tristana's just being able to wave clear. Juice is hovering up there. He doesn't need to be able to gank this lane. That's not what they're trying to do. They're just trying to keep them off the turret. So, look, they push that wave in. 2 creeps left there hitting the turret, so FBI gets no auto attacks. They need to break mid.
I feel like they need to get vision in topside jungle.
Yep.
Force Juves away, isolate the 2v2 one more time.
Oh.
As they actually go in, they're diving forward. You can see
Jippy.
Gangplank ult goes out. But we
Nice.
mentioned already, very good trade coming across.
Yeah, FBI is so low and he has no mana. He's going to have to recall and TP back to lane potentially, but Rogue doesn't have the luxury of TP, so FBI will be alone.
And the longer this stalls, the better for Sin.
That's all they need to do. That is all they need to do. They're actually going to get access to the turret very briefly here. Spooks can't defend that one. Well, 1v2, but with the 2v2 he might be able to.
Yeah, I mean, that's a static shift.
I mean, if we take a look at the gold real quick, he's not that far behind on the side of Dream, right? He's got himself a BF sword to the Zeal. So it's 700 gold, 800 gold. That 1,000 has now ever so slowly gone down to 800, 700. If that trajectory keeps happening...
That's the big if. He's also got a turret right now that's about to be solo taken again on 200 health.
I mean, Chiefs, sorry, not Chiefs, Order, have a lot of tempo right now. Come on, Chief Swiffer and Chief Spooks is iconic. Now, it takes a while, you know, it takes a while, but if this bot lane out of order right now, FBI and Rogue, they can get this turret. If they rotate towards mid, if Spooks can get that Rift Herald down, because Dream and Kuden will be shoved in. They will get access, potentially for one wave, onto that mid lane outer. With the Rift Herald, can they break it? But right now, Spooks is not looking like he's interested.
Really going for it.
Yeah.
So blue buff potentially going to be handed off.
Golems and a red buff.
Yeah. You can see one more time, but Doink is heading back towards that mid lane.
And Spooks is dropping it. It's running out.
Okay, so he drops it. I mean, Creep Wave will be taken down very quickly, and that is a Tahm ulti across. No minion wave left available. And I feel like this is a botch from Order.
It's going to be a 4v5 now, walking up the river in Praedyth, and Tally's just chilling in the bot lane, pushes that wave in, but they got one charge and nothing else.
Yeah, and Spooks didn't even deny the blue buff from Bedoink, so Bedoink can sit there forever, can continue to clear out waves, and I feel like the duo lane from Order against Bedoink cannot break the turret, and Swiffer, I don't know, can 1v2 at the moment.
I mean, especially a squishy mage support, you don't really...
have dive threat, not with a Kha'Zix.
You don't have kill threat either onto the Azir. He can happily 1v2. Sure, if he just sits there auto-trading with you, then maybe the Giant Kate will come up trumps, but he can just clear the wave and you can't get onto him. You can't pressure him away from that.
I mean, I feel like right now the play is to just Caitlyn ulti him, flash ulti him on Swiffer and just try and force him out of lane. Because if this mid lane turret doesn't go down, if they do not start building objectives around the map, then the fast push stops right now.
Yep. They get themselves...
They get an RNG dragon right there.
Well, they got themselves an air drake.
And the
so
next,
one's Infernal. If they still have control of the map right now, but nobody's in this top side. GP ulti coming out to save it. They will get the satchel proc. Tristana E coming through.
Yeah, however, Swiffer heading up into this top lane will force them away.
Shadowed by Bedoink.
Yep. And I feel like, at the moment, 3,000 gold is nice. And if you were a tank matchup versus a tank matchup, you would say, okay, that's a good early game.
Here we go.
Potentially going for the fight here. This time onto Rogue. That's a little bit of a misplay. However, we'll be able to get the slap. No, he doesn't actually get the slap.
Just out of range. Yeah, couldn't quite get onto Rogue there. The Tornado into the Zac is a very good tool. He goes for that elastic slingshot, and you just hit him with a cheeky Tornado mid-flight.
I think he thought brush to brush. He would take that chance. Potentially could even try and... I mean, at that point, if you choose, maybe you even try and burn the flash with a flash ulti.
Yep. And
then you just say, now that you don't have summoner spells, if you ever miss execution, I kill you.
I mean, speaking from both observation and experience, it's very hard to, on the perpendicular angle as the Janna, cancel that. So if Juice actually chooses to go on FBI there, Rogue is on the left-hand side, and he has an even shorter window. Because Juice isn't traveling towards the Janna, he's traveling past the Janna. You've got to take into account the animation time as well, so that's really difficult.
For sure. What I want to point out is they have half a wave on this. They actually go Rogue very low, and they're going to look to disengage. They will successfully get it. Spooks comes in from the side, but one more time. Actually, that was a TP channel from Praedyth. So... I respect Sin for that. They're just throwing everything at keeping this mid lane turret alive. They know this is what the map hinges on right now.
And they do successfully hold it. No Gangplank ulti available. Dream. He's dead? He's dead.
He's dead.
He has heal available. No. Oh, he has stopwatch.
Yeah, actually, there we go. Oh, and burns both summoners. I mean, I still feel that's worth from Swiffer. He gets everything out of Dream. You can see they're still trying to push into this mid lane.
Very low.
Oh, it is so low.
That's very low, but it's still standing 16 minutes into the game. We have to note that this is still very early into the game.
Yep.
But we've just been talking about how these two team compositions mesh with one another. Be interesting to see where this one goes. The gold lead right now sitting at about 3,500 gold. So.
And I feel like Dream using his summoner spells there is worse than it appears, because all of a sudden, if you're Tristana, you cannot solo hold that turret anymore. Because Swiffer can just go under there with ultimate, with pull, and be able to collect you. And you can see that Tahm Kench actually needs to shadow Bedoink right now, because Bedoink has kill threat with another member there. If he goes in, scoops him, you know, all of a sudden Tahm Kench starts licking you, like acquiring your taste. There's actually a gank goes down onto Praedyth, in goes Spooks.
Double jump. Nice, but I do want to mention something real quick. In terms of the bot lane matchup, Tristana, Tahm Kench, Caitlyn, Janna, we just looked at that and went, hey, like, Tristana, Tahm Kench lose, and they did. They lost hard, lost their turret very early.
In goes Juice one more time.
Cancelled.
Just keeping them away from this turret. Oh, actually goes in and misses it. However, the jump is there. That's the exhaust. Flash away. But that's actually a 2v4 commit right now. And you can see Praedyth is falling very low. Has to flash over the wall. Tally will not flash after him, but they get enough members low that maybe now mid lane turret can be cracked.
You have to think that they should be able to get this one. Tristana won't be able to hold it alone, but he does have Kuden and Juice around the corner. But yes, it does go down. But Tahm Kench, in terms of holding the side lane, you mentioned Tristana without summoners won't be able to match the Vlad. But Tahm Kench gives them that global pressure. Gives them that global ulti. He can sit with the Tristana and then very happily ulti to mid lane if Chiefs, if Order...
I'm going to tackle you in a second.
If Order are setting up their siege in that respect, so it does offer a lot of utility in the mid to late game, not so much the early game.
One thing I do want to point out for viewers at home that probably have been playing Vlad and have been building Spooky Ghosts, the adaptation, now that that is no longer an item, seems to be that back to the old build, Doran Shield into Proto Belt. Of course, with Spellbook, you always want to take Ioning and Boots of Lucidity. I mean, it's just, especially on something that synergizes so well as Vladimir. That is just such a no-brainer. You can see as soon as armor is picked up for Praedyth, the poor guy, this is the bait in the bub about 131s. You're like, I'm going to now be able to beat the Gangplank. I have myself a bit of armor, got myself a Jorum's Fist.
Have a Vlad.
Hello, Vladimir.
Get out of my lane. As Order are just swapping that one.
All right, so now Fast Push has succeeded. 3 turrets to 1 turret. What's the next goal? I mean, do they keep pushing into inners? Do they try and take away jungle?
I mean, yes, you have to. You start playing around like the tentative pressure of pushing the side lanes and rotating between lanes. They can't do big objectives. Baron is spawning in 30 seconds, but they have no tank. So they won't be able to realistically especially when Praedith has TP, Juves can get access to the pit from so far away. They won't realistically be able to take that objective unless they win a team fight and get a couple of kills. So they just want to be pushing in the lanes. They want to be getting vision in the jungle and just baiting out cooldowns, really. You want to bait out the Abyssal Voyage from Kuden so that the next time you make a play in a side lane, he won't be able to bring Dream. And they want to just be chip damage, taking chip damage on these turrets, the inner turrets, slowly.
See whether they're able to get any, because so far, not so good for the Ornn lineup. I want to point out a bit pick up from Dream, which is falling out of favor a little bit, but once again, you have to talk about Tabbies. Feel like that is largely to do with the Kha'Zix going the Duskblade build. Duskblade so potent against targets with no armor. If he goes the sorry, not Merc Treads. Berserker Greaves not going to have any of that. Tabbies puts him over the edge there. Swiffer going to be dove here. That is a Vladimir. No wave. They get the ultimate down. They get the Gangplank ulti down, and he will be able to go forward and dissuade that.
The rest of Order
was shadowing. I feel like they should be in lane. However, Praedith will get chunked out again, and this will give Order access to that turret in the bottom lane. And you can see, one more time, Sinner sticking around. They want to be able to crack this. They give away a second Infernal.
And it's very interesting that FBI and Rogue actually went up to match that one. Spooks, as you said, is going to collect this Infernal, but if they were just hard pushing mid, potentially could have got that we've got that turret damage with the W and the smite. I think he'll be fine. He'll probably just burn the smite early to stay alive, but
turret top lane falls down. So this is a matched turret, and as we mentioned, because they went top and then back mid, Order haven't really been able to get any access to that mid lane turret. Although I lie, he's very low. And now they're going to Tarm Kench ulti in. No trap. He is alone. FBI does take some damage there, and they just recognize that they have to keep him here in Bedoink.
And this is what they need. This is what they need. They need that trip.
They actually go in. Juves, that's 1v4. Kidnap is not there. Actually gets Tally. Will fall down low. Burns a flash.
Tally chucks a... Sorry, Juves chucks a little bit of a swathe there with that engage, I think.
Yeah, and you can see that they're getting a little bit nervous. They feel like they have to force Kuden again. One more time. Juves goes in. No ultimate, no flash. Will fall down into Board Blitz. They should be able to just put a barrel on top of him here and take him out. And you can see that he will fall down. Double kill picked up for FBI. And now Praedith in the back line. They continue it. However, has been exhausted. They will continue to go in. Vladimir is flanking. See whether he can pick up anything. Gets the ulti onto 2. Will be able to pull underneath that stun. Picks up an ace for Order, and they lose no one.
And ever so slowly, Sin walk in one by one and start losing out the members. If Order break the base here, that is absolutely huge for their comp.
Yeah, it certainly is, and you feel like Sin, they could have let the outers go down. They were in a fine position, just continue to scale with your tank. Instead, they get nervous. They rush it. And they botch the engage, and they get aced, and now we're talking about a serious gold lead.
I mean, they just engage with no one around. Nobody can do damage. This is the end of that, so Juves has already lost his flash here. Gets into the backline, but, I mean, doesn't have an ulti. Dream just walks up, steps on a trap, isn't doing any damage, and Rogue coming in with a heal. And we see Swiffer on the back end of this fight, will flank eventually. Praedith comes in. Mini-Nah gets immediately exhausted and has no rage bar. FBI, really nice flash right there. Dodges out of the Azir ulti, keeps himself alive, but... with Swiffer coming in the back end of the fight, like Sin just straight up lose. They lose the turret. They lose all their members. And that's huge.
Yeah, it certainly is. And the fact that Juves is 70 CS behind Spooks means that even though we're talking about this comp with a tank, they don't really have a tank right now.
Yeah.
So instead, they're looking for a little bit of a cheese and a brush. Not going to work against Swiffer. The gold leads are starting to creep up for all the Order members. All the carries are at least 2,000 gold ahead.
I mean, the gold lead just exploded to 8,000.
Yeah.
It was sitting at around 3 or 4 for the longest part of this game. Gangplank ulti comes out.
Yeah, looking for a pick here, actually. Kuden falling very low. That is so much damage out of the jungler from Order, and they're just going to continue to chase forward. That is the ultimate. Swiffer picks him up, and he continues forward. Juves channels the ulti. Dream will fall down.
What?
That Vladimir is massive.
Dream tanked the ace in the hole from Caitlyn for his support and then dies to the Vlad ulti. That feels real bad. This might just give Order access to the Baron. They are walking around. They have the vision.
They have no tank still.
I know. Can they actually do this one? No, they recognize they don't want to tank up the Baron. They just want to pick off
they actually want to pick off Bedoink. They will be able. That is so much damage. Spooks flashes forward to body block in case he wants to be able to glide out. And they're going to continue to chase Juves. He can't go anywhere.
Oh, the nice cancel on Elastic Slingshot. Out of Rogue.
Yeah.
Swiffer's just going to walk up, probably clean them up between the two. Spooks and Swiffer, the unstoppable duo. Juves takes himself over the wall. Spooks will be able to clean him up eventually, but Sin aren't getting anything on the other side of the map. Their recalls or their death timers are counting down, so they are still alive.
Actually, they're looking for Tally. They see that they get a little bit of damage. That is so much health back from the Sterix as well as the shield from Janna. And one more time, Order look on the offensive with the jungler dead. Now they can do Baron.
They're pinging the Baron here. Shields onto the Vladimir was probably the best tanking option available. They do this one really quickly. Ardent Sensor, obviously, for Rogue, so it gives it to FBI. No contest coming out. Abyssal Voyage is down from Kuden, so Sin with no vision, no control, have no way to contest that.
And you said the ideal scenario for Order is 10,000 gold up at 20 minutes. How about 13,000 gold up at 25 minutes with double Infernal Drake and a Baron buff?
It works. Oh, yeah, double Infernal Drake. That put it over the edge, because you look at that Vlad ulti onto Trist, and you're like, he's not going to die, but because of that extra damage, picks himself up the kill there, and that's a Baron for Order here.
And FBI all of a sudden, with a couple of team fights, we said that Dream was touching distance. He's now a full Zeal and a BF sword behind. That Caitlyn is a monster.
Not to mention he gets the AD from Janna and the attack speed from Ardent Sensor. So you see them building up the wave. They want to push this one all the way into the base.
Waiting for Vladimir in the bottom lane, it looks like. They pushed it a little bit too early.
I don't think he thought the static shift was going to clear the entire
way. Yeah, I don't think he's been this fed in a long time. So he's just like, oh, I do that much damage. That's pretty cool, but also sucks for building up the wave. But still, they will crash at the same time. So you see now walking up and crit. I mean, when you've got 80% crit, most of them are going to now be that.
And with the Janna shield, he can just take pot shots at that turret as well. You heard Juves, the audio triggered, channeling that E, but doesn't pull through. But Doink, that's a big bit of damage.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you can just see that they're just marching in. Doink has to go back. Swift is zoning off turret. This will be the base broken. And it looks right now that 14 gold seems to be the magical number for a fast push comp.
Absolutely, and it seems like once Order are in this base right here, it seems like Sin don't really have an option here. They have to.
Yeah.
But they're not going to win. There's a 14,000 gold lead.
So they go for it under the turret.
Tally.
They try and kidnap Tally back into the team. That's probably the best target. You can see that he's going very low. He does fall down, and Swiffer is now in the back line looking for absolutely everyone. Bedoink falls. That's an instant double kill. Make it a triple. 4 members of Sin fall down, and Order are popping off.
And Sin opt in for the team fight, but Swiffer triple kill on the back end of that. Blows up everyone. Spooks actually jumped into the back line and then just was a nuisance and popped his stopwatch there, so Sin couldn't return anything. That's going to be Order. The name of the game is pushing turrets, and they're going to push these 2 down as well, and then move on to the next.
Yeah, exactly right. I think it's going to be quick. The Order's quickest victory of the split yet. 27 minutes, they'll be able to get it done. They'll take a couple of shots into the fountain, but 14 kills to 2, a one-sided affair.
That's a very different game that we've seen from Order.
It's a very different game than we've seen anyone in the OPL play.
Yep, 100%. Last 2 weeks, they were very aggressive, fighting left, right, and center, picking the likes of Braum and Ali and Rogue and just fighting in the bot lane.
I think we said they had 4 go buttons last week.
Yeah, they did.
They had Ornn, Alistar, Zac or Sejuani, something like Zac, I think it was, and they just continually threw people. And Galio.
Yep. Unfortunately for them this game, they didn't have those available. They get the win anyway. Fast push strategy, very interesting. And I feel like that's their most the most contained we've seen Order in how they played out that game.
Does that make it the most impressive win so far?
I mean, not necessarily in itself makes it the most impressive, but I think the most impressive thing is they've now shown different styles, right? Okay. You can see this team brand new as of 2018 as Sin is still sitting in their room there contemplating what happened that game, but this means that Order isn't just a one-trick wonder. They're not just going to pick a bunch of good players on their roster and be like, hey, we're just going to outplay you in lanes, we're going to fight you, and that's how we're going to win these games. They actually can play a controlled style of League of Legends very effectively.
Yeah, and a tempo style League of Legends. I mean, they won some team fights, but the aim of the game was definitely not team fighting. It was being able to pick up neutral objectives. They got 3 dragons uncontested. They took all the outer ring of turret by about 14 minutes into that game, I believe. So was a fairly quick acceleration once they got the team fight victories. But Sin, I feel, would just say when they go back to the room, boys, why are we forcing? Like, give up all the outer turrets. Hold the base with Azir, who's going to have a much easier time rotating. They can't do Baron, because if we ever get there at the same time as them, we wipe them because they can't take it.
Yep.
Just deep breath. If you fall behind, it's not that big of a deal in that game.
I think they ban it.
Oh, really?
I think game 2, I think they have... yeah, I 100% think so.
What do you ban from that comp?
I mean, I guess Janna. She's the best mage support, honestly. Like, you can replace the Caitlyn with something else. If you have the Tristana, like, it'll work pseudo the same. If you have melee into Janna matchup, I think that is the big problem. Maybe it's not so much the ban, it's just the way they change their draft, right? Instead of just blind picking Tahm Kench for Kuden when the Malzahar hit the bench anyway. That was banned away. So like that's
By
the number
order
one
of all people.
Yeah, that's the number one answer. And then you just blind pick Tahm Kench. It seems like Order's read on the meta is a little bit better, and Sin didn't adapt in that draft and then got punished. So maybe they don't need to expend a ban, but they just need to draft a little bit smarter in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they just didn't expect it. We've not seen anyone globally play really fast push style. We've seen Jana Caitlyn, but we've seen them more as a scaling lane. So, I mean, definitely a different style of gameplay coming out. However, to break that game down further, let's throw it over to Laura and choose.
Thanks, Jake. Order able to pick up that first game after a very greedy draft. Choo-choos, what do you think Order's goal was with that draft, and what things do they need to tick off their list to make sure that it actually worked?
Well, it was quite easy to recognize what their win condition was with the fast push bot lane. Caitlyn taking Spellbook, taking the teleport means that she can come straight back and get back to hitting that tower. And I think like 3 minutes and 30 seconds, the tower was half HP, so I don't think Sin had any answer to that. Especially when you pick a jungler like Zac and you're versing a Kha'Zix, there's not really much early game jungle presence you can put up against that, so they did fall behind quite early.
And because Order did put a lot of pressure onto Sin in that mid lane, I feel like Sin felt like they needed to execute something to combat that.
Yeah. Well, Sin were in a position where they had to engage. They felt like they had to engage. Jana is not the best champion to engage on. As you can see, they're already like are at 40% HP, and so is Order actually from just the standoff in the mid lane. But I feel this is a needed play coming out of Sin because they needed to do something. The game was slowly being starved out for them, and Praedyth is just trying to get into his Mega Gnar, but you can see that Order disperses really nicely, gives enough time for Swiffer to eventually flank. But I think if you look at that replay even again or like a couple times, you can see that Sin actually, if they played it a bit better, could have won that team fight. And I think that's what they needed to make. They needed to make that call a lot earlier before it was, I think it was like a 5k gold lead at that point. But I think that was just a really infuriating composition to verse, especially for Sin's bot lane. But I think they played all right. I think they shouldn't be too upset going into the next game. But it is definitely, I think they slowly figured out how they can win.
And if we rewind the game back to the beginning, something you noticed is that Tally picked up Targons in the top lane. Do you have a theory as to why he did that?
No, not really. I mean, the first item of the game, it does play like a big role. It's because what you come into lane with. But I mean, it does give health per second. It does give regen, but it also gives them gold. And I think that's the value in that item that Tally was really looking at, especially when you're playing Gameplank that has several like revenues of income. Avenues of income, and I think that was a very interesting item, and it did pay off dividends. He did get really big and just pretty much had to do his job was pressing R on the bot lane because his bot lane was that win condition that we talked about.
We asked some of you at home to send in your questions to ask Choo-Choos on Twitter and Facebook. And we've picked out 5 that we're going to ask him here right now. The first one from Kilkenny Games, who says, with Riot constantly working on reworks and new champions, what kind of champion/vibe would you like to see in the next new champion? Another new mechanic like Sleep, or an old classic like Consume, or globals used in new fun ways?
I think Sleep is quite OP at the moment. Just because I associate that with Zoe, which Zoe seems ridiculous at the moment. But I've always been a champion of assassins, and I would like. I feel like assassin meta has kind of fallen off. It might come back with these new seasons still coming into fruition, but I would like to see more mechanics like Sleep. No more stuns, but Sleep, Hourglass I think is interesting. They introduced that. But I think those kinds of changes, which provide actives, do make the game frustrating, but both like fun as well for me.
Are you a fan of Zoe?
Yes,
yeah,
I'm a
you
big
are.
fan of Zoe.
Our second question is from Facebook. Tyler, Gifford Moore, who asks, what made you decide to go pro with League of Legends?
I didn't really decide. Like, it more just fell on me. I was playing the game religiously, maybe a bit too much, and I was offered a role to play for a competitive team, and I thought, like, why not? Like, jump at the opportunity, and it kind of just went off from there. Like, I got picked up by different teams and started enjoying the competitive side, and now I'm sitting on the analyst couch. So it's been a fun journey, but yeah, kind of just fell on me.
How old were you when you first started competing?
I think I was 16, turning 17.
Younger.
Yeah, my final year of high school. which isn't the best time to jump into competitive League of Legends, but that's when I did it.
Our third question on Facebook is from Tristan Fang, who says, if you weren't a mid laner, what position would you play as?
I've always considered this. I was a top laner before I was a mid laner. I think jungle is very interesting. I know a lot of mid laners do transition into that role because they do have they're in the middle of the map, so they have a good understanding of what they can do. But I think if I was to pick a position, it would be jungle.
Our fourth question is from Hispanic Cat D, who says, which roster do you think is the most underrated or overrated at the moment?
I think the most underrated roster would probably be either Bombers or Tectonic. I think just because I was on Bombers, I think Bombers do show a lot of promise. I think they're quite good players. They just haven't really, I mean, they haven't, because their players have been banned, but they haven't been able to show their strengths. I would like to say them and Tectonic after watching them today. I think Tectonic show a lot of potential coming into the rest of the split.
And our final question is from Murky Mercury, who says, thought on the support item changes and possibility of Twin Shadows' old Spooky Ghost item coming back with the Sightstone quests.
I think it is a good change that Riot have implemented. Those support items have been around for a very long time. So now there's no more Spooky Ghosts. There's no more Face of the Mountain. There's none of that. No more Talisman of Ascension. It is a nice change to see. But I kind of do miss those actives because they were unique. They were something interesting that supports could put out. They don't really have that anymore. They're more just ward bots again. But I would like to see an item maybe reintroduced specifically for supports. But I think it's an all right change.
Well, thank you for answering those questions. No, and thank you for you at home, all of you at home that sent in those questions. But don't go anywhere. We'll have game 2 between Order and Sin right after this break.
Able to get the knock up, gets him, slaps him together, will fall down into Blobblers potentially, but Doink is here as well. Has to flash as well. Tally outplaying everyone, still dancing around, goes in, gets another summoner spell out. One more time, Jubes goes in. No ultimate, no flash, will fall down into Blobblers. They should be able to just put a barrel on top of him here and take him out. And you can see that he will fall down. Double kill picked up for FBI. Vladimir is flanking. See whether he can pick up anything. Gets the ulti onto 2. Will be able to pull underneath that stun. Picks up an ace for Order, and they lose no one. That is so much damage out of the jungler from Order, and they're just going to continue to chase forward. That is the ultimate. Swiffer picks him up, and he continues forward. Jubes channels the ulti. Dream will fall down, and Swiffer is now in the back line, looking for absolutely everyone. Bedoink falls. That's an instant double kill. Make it a triple. 4 members of Sin fall down, and Order are popping off. At Order's quickest victory of the split yet, 27 minutes. They'll be able to get it done. They'll take a couple of shots into the fountain, but 14 kills to 2, a one-sided affair.